I'm not much of a ranter, so bear with me on this one. I love Payday 3. Since I made this video, which was outdated in under 24 hours, I've come to realise that for all its faults and areas that need work or improvement, the way the heisting fantasy gameplay has been implemented really is everything I've ever wanted from the sequel I've been waiting for over 7 years. Gunfights are satisfying, stealth innovates brilliantly on the old formula, and the music and voice work is sensational, which is what makes this video all the more difficult to make. Payday 3 is struggling, and I don't mean had a few bugs and launch day wobbles kind of struggle. I'm talking the struggle to end all struggles, branded the worst launch of the year, floundering at around 30% positive reviews on Steam, and if my comments are to be believed, with a refund rate like no other. All of this coming after an almost flawless pre-release period with an excellent and cautiously optimistic reception. The whiplash must have been immense. For the past 3 days, including the launch day, the game's matchmaking servers have been consistently down, preventing anyone from playing a heist, the whole premise of the game. Admittedly, now on day 4 of full release, things are starting to look up. Servers are online more than they're not, which is an improvement, but a certain amount of damage has already been done, and we can't simply walk away from this thinking that sometimes online mediocrity is okay for Payday 3. This should instead be a catalyst for change. The developers simply don't deserve the fruits of their blood, sweat and tears being dragged through the mud like this. The absolutely vile things I've seen online over the past few days have been beyond the pale. Some out there are directing their anger in completely the wrong direction. But the frustration and negative reviews, in truth from a consumer perspective, make absolute sense even to me. However, despite it all, Payday 3 is still the game I've always wanted to play. Yet after all this waiting, I can't with any degree of confidence expect things not to break when I try to. Because to be frank, the game does not fundamentally work as intended. Matchmaking completely shutting down a few times a day isn't good enough, even if it's up more than it isn't. It makes trying to play the game a stressful gamble, and we don't play games to be stressed out. It's meant to be an escape. I, like many others, took time off work to play and create content for this game. Precious holiday days for someone who works a 9 to 5, spent staring at nebula errors and matchmaking failures. It's simply not good enough. There should have been safeguards in place to prevent this, to prevent employees from having to work overtime until 4 AM, to cope with an increased load induced by Xbox Game Pass service inclusion that was likely highly profitable for the company. Hell, technologically inept idiots like myself feared the worst from the servers on launch. 17 hours of consecutive downtime was below my 24-hour prediction, and even now it's not like anything is truly resolved for good. We were told it was player load that brought down the servers, yet we have the official Twitter account seeking feedback from the community. There seems to be complete and utter confusion from inside of Starbreeze. So, it's not looking great. All of this didn't have to happen this way with the right business planning. But let's be as fair as possible, these things can occur with big launches like these. It's not the first time an online game has had server difficulties on a larger than anticipated launch. They're complex, with a lot of moving parts. The margin for error is tight, so I think most sane players give games a little leeway right at launch. Which would be all well and good, but outside of all the what-ifs and conscious understanding, the thing that truly irks me is that this all could have been avoided, or at least largely mitigated, by the addition of one simple and hugely requested feature. A solo, offline mode for Payday 3. The community saw this coming from miles away, but the key decision makers at Starbreeze have turned a blind eye to it. And now, here we stand. A product years in the making, which outside of a few finicky systems that will be developed in the future, has met all hopes and expectations. But somehow, it's completely unplayable, with a forced matchmaking system that wastes a minute of your time even when working as intended, has virtually no social features despite being an online co-op game, whilst failing to even achieve what we had with CrimeNet. This has also led to huge frustration community-wide, with stealth players having their lobbies crashed and vice versa. An offline mode would have remedied so many of these issues in a heartbeat. Let's play out a scenario. Servers are struggling under player load. No worries, matchmaking errors are annoying, but at least we get to play the game we've just purchased alongside Crew AI, offline, just like its predecessor. Oh, and look, suddenly the server load is now more manageable, and the team can handle the demand problems for their new server-based system. Everyone gets to play, issues are resolved more smoothly, and the game is reviewed for the quality of its content, not its woeful lack of function. Server issues end up being a footnote in the history of Payday 3, not the bloody headline. those Steam reviews will sting and hang over the game for years to come, if the live service model gets a chance to play out as planned. So then, the real question is, why not just release with this seemingly readily available offline mode? Could it just be hubris? Overconfidence that this would all work out smoothly? I truly hope so. I can forgive Almir for a brash comment about servers simply working on launch. Naive, but not at all malicious. What I fear is that Always Online was implemented for purely commercial reasons, as opposed to anything related to the actual game. In essence, acting as a safeguard for the property rights of future releases and, hell, even the impending microtransactions and premium currency. But more on that in a minute. I can see why a commercial mind would want to protect their revenue streams from piracy and hackers, but that same commercial mind has to see that the financial damage this approach is having on the future of their IP is far worse than the alternative. And don't get me wrong, I'm not calling anyone a liar here from previous interviews. I truly believe there are developer advantages of having the game be always online. I just think they're tremendously outweighed by the negatives and risks that come with the system. Launch has surely been living proof of this. That is why I'm calling, much more desperately this time, for some serious reconsideration at the very top of the company. Their approach has to change. Always Online was a failed gamble, and now they're playing with the fate of a wonderful game and incredibly beloved IP that so many companies would relish the chance to operate. Please, find the compromise and listen to your core community. We've all been here before. I know the situation is on the up now, but don't see this as your opportunity to take your foot off the gas. Time might heal all wounds, but Payday 3 won't have the time it needs to heal if something isn't done to stop the bleeding immediately. The vitriol from players I see across YouTube, Reddit and Steam is only as intense as it is because people genuinely care about this game. If they didn't, it would be going down with a whimper, not a bang as it is right now. My perspective is exactly the same. I considered staying silent, not adding another voice to the chorus of others saying the exact same thing. After all, what can I add that hasn't been said already? It's obvious, right? But if I can move the needle even a millimeter in the right direction for this game and community that I adore, I'm willing to stake what reputation I have directly on it. We deserve better, and so do the brilliant people who created Payday 3 from the ground up. I see comments referring to their ambivalence, but having met them, let me tell you, they're stinging right now more than anyone else involved. And since I'm on a bit of a downer here, I might as well mention my disgust at how the PS5 version of the game has launched. Releasing the wrong version is almost unforgivable, but potentially not all down to Starbreeze. Even so, I still have to question all the missing items that have been paid for, as well as the missing dialogue in cutscenes. Content quantity is already Payday 3's greatest internal flaw, so launching without a major feature fully functional is horrendous. Not to mention, it seems we'll be waiting 2 weeks from launch before the first update lands due to Sony's authentication process and fixed cross-platform parity. Again, not Starbreeze's fault directly, but indicative of the underpreparedness that is symptomatic of all these mounting issues. What we need now is action and communication. No more false dawns, just plain honesty. Please don't apologise. It comes across as disingenuous. It's not sorry for doing it, it's sorry for getting caught. Speak to us about how this is going to be resolved, how people are going to be reimbursed, and win back the community through your actions. You said it yourselves, everyone loves a good comeback story. I just wish you'd stop putting yourselves in these underdog situations. That said, I think the thing that scares me the most after all is said and done is that this is just the beginning. I'm tremendously excited for Payday 3's first content drops, but at the same time, I'm also living in fear of the impending microtransactions. I don't like them, I don't want them, I was willing to accept the model out of sheer love for the game, but if we see any more serious missteps just because it's the industry standard, it might just break me. This isn't a threat. I'm entirely replaceable, I don't have any skill set that any other Payday fan lacks. This is a cry out from years of apprehension and frustration, trying to see things from all sides and angles. It's becoming untenable for me. Look at what has succeeded before. Please don't do everything in your power to portray your own vision for a perfect Payday. Personally, I will continue to enjoy Payday 3 whilst I can, through all the outages and downtime. I finally have my infamy and new player guides put together, but don't want to rush out anything until I know people can actually make use of them. I love what I'm able to do here on YouTube and Twitch, I love this community, and I'll do everything I can to keep fighting to enjoy this until I can no longer. Thank you for your support. I'll see you all very soon in the next video.